In this video tutorial, we're going to learn how to use Final Cut Pro and Photoshop to create some cool basketball highlight reels that look a little bit like this.
Wait, look at the airspace that these shooters have all night long to knock down shots, to take and make shots. It's easy offense, and the
lab students
defense participated in their own demise.
Alright, so that was pretty dynamic, and I went to YouTube and I got some inspiration from this clip right here.
Detail was poor. Their transition defense was bad. They've got to be much better. This is not the championship defense that we become accustomed to watching the Warriors play. Look at the airspace that these shooters have all night long to knock down shots, to take and make shots. It's easy offense, and the Warriors defense participated in
Alright,
their own demise.
so how exactly are we going to create something that looks a little bit like this? So you'll notice when we look in the timeline here, I paused the action right here, and then I exported a still frame, and then I popped it into Photoshop, and then I was able to use a combination of the elliptical marquee, paintbrush. I applied a Gaussian blur, some layer styles to create this effect that shows just how wide open the student is. And then right here, I slowed down the action to 25%
Make shots. It's easy offense.
of the original speed, just to for added emphasis. All right, so how are we going to do something that looks a little bit like this? Well, once you export that image, and so actually when we do that, let's see what happens here in Photoshop. So the first thing that I always like to do is we start off with the original image, and then I'm going to press Command. Actually, no. So actually, the first thing that we're going to do is use a selection tool to highlight the individuals, and you can't see them now, but I use a combination of the lasso tool, the quick selection tool, polygon lasso to isolate just the people that you want to highlight. And then what I did is I duplicated that layer, and I added a layer style so that they're a little bit brighter. And once we do that, then I go to the original image, and I'm going to desaturate it, and then I'm going to create a new layer above it. We're going to add a a color, any color of your choice. And what blending mode did we use? And we used the multiply blending mode. We can simply adjust the hues so you can find something that you think looks pretty cool for you. And then what I did was I added this additional ellipse right here that I think looks pretty cool, just to emphasize how wide open this kit is. All right, so let's jump right back into Final Cut Pro, and we'll do another example right now. And okay, so I've pulled up another instance in which a student was wide open, and so the first thing that I did was actually, okay, so this is the start of the play. I'm going to press L to make it go a little bit faster. Alright, so he jacks it up, and you know what, with this lunchtime basketball, there are lots of missed shots, and so actually this is the element that I want to highlight. Okay, so alright, so Emerson in the green grabs the rebound. He's looking for the open man. He sees Chris Nunez out on the wing. We got that rainbow arc and the swish. Alright, so we're gonna highlight that shot. So the first thing that we're gonna do is, this is where the play is sort of starting, but I'm gonna scrub ahead until right when I want to highlight Emerson and Chris Nunez, and I think about right there is where I think right there is where, to me, it looks like Emerson's noticing Chris Nunez. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to File, and then we're gonna go to Share, and then what you're gonna need to do is click on Add Destination, and you might need to drag Save Current Frame from this area to right here. And when you do, what you can then do is go to File, we're going to Share and Save Current Frame, and we're simply going to save it. I'm going to click Next. I like that shot, and I'm going to save it Chris wide open and save it to the desktop. Great, beautiful. So now I'm going to jump into Photoshop. I'm going to click File, Open. There it is, Chris wide open. Alright, so we're going to open this up. Amazing. And so, like before, the first thing that we're going to do is zoom in, and we want to create a selection around the one individual, or maybe the 2 or 3 people that you want to highlight. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply use sometimes I just use the lasso tool. Right now I'm going to use the polygon lasso tool, and I'm just clicking. And what I'm actually going to do right now is, if we had more time, I would use the polygon lasso all the way around. But what I'm going to do instead is just switch to the lasso tool, making sure that the add to selection is highlighted. And I'm just going to do like a super quick job. You guys will do a far better selection. And there we go. So there we got Emerson. That looks great. And so now we need to highlight Chris, who is pretty deep. He looks like he's about 4 feet off the 3-point line. Nice job, Chris. All right, that looks great right there. And then I'm actually going to subtract the interior of his arm. And then, we got to get his shoulder right there. All right. All right, so it's not amazing, but whatever. Okay, so we got the selection. We're going to press Command-C to copy, Command-V to paste. Amazing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click down to layer 1. I'm going to press Command-Shift-U. I'm going to zoom out a tad. I'm going to press Command-L to lighten the lights. That looks great right there. I'm going to create a new layer underneath. We're going to get a color, and let's get, why not? We'll get this green. You guys can experiment with a color of your choice. I'm going to use a paint bucket. I'm going to click. I'm going to press V, hold Shift, plus, plus, plus. We're cycling through until we find a blending mode that you think looks cool. And I don't love color. I'm going to go back, and maybe we'll just do, I don't love overlay. I don't love this green, but for right now, I'm just going to do linear burn. And I'm actually going to drop down the opacity just a tad. Okay, so I like that right there. I'm going to return to layer 2. I'm going to press Command-J, Command-M, and we're going to brighten these guys up. We're going to highlight them a little bit more. You guys see that? And let's go like this. That looks great. So we lighten the lights, darken the darks with these guys using curves. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to click Effects. We're going to select, let's do Outer Glow. I mean, you can experiment with the with the different layer styles, but maybe we'll do something that looks a little bit like this. I'm going to drop down the noise. That looks better. And sure, this looks amazing. So here's what I'm going to do now, because initially I just want to highlight the 2 of these guys. So I'm going to click File, I'm going to click Save As, and we're going to save this as a JPEG file, and I'm going to save it as V1. Great. And now what I'm going to do is above layer 3, I'm going to create a new layer. And we're going to select, I don't know, we'll select maybe this color right here. Why not? I'm going to press OK. I'm going to use the elliptical marquee, and I'm going to click and drag just to illustrate how wide open this guy is. There's nobody on him. Who's guarding him? Was that Anthony? We're going to, again, use the paint bucket. I'm going to click like so. And now what we're going to do is we're going to desaturate. I'm going to click on Filter, and then we'll click on Blur, and then we got lots of blurs that you can choose from. I'm going to choose Gaussian blur. And the radius is at 26. That's where I had it before. Maybe I'm going to drop it down right. Maybe right here. Why not? I'm going to press OK. And then let's press V, hold Shift, and we'll cycle through the blending modes that you think look cool. All right, so we can find something that looks a little bit like this. Let's say we want to adjust this radius a little bit. What we can do, because it's on its own layer, we can press Command-T, and maybe I'm going to make it not quite as tall and shift it over like so. I like that. That looks great. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to save this as a JPEG version 2. So I'm going to click Format, JPEG, V2. This looks cool. I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to press OK. We're going to jump back into, let's go to Final Cut Pro. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press right here, right? So I'm going to press Command-B. And let's import those 2 images. So I'm going to click the Import button. I'm going to click on Desktop. And I'm going to click Content Created. And once more, and I can see that we've got Chris wide open version 1 and 2. I'm going to import the selected images. This is great. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to click and I'm going to drag and I'm going to pop this one in, and then I'm going to pop this one in. This looks great. And so right now I can see that this is 4 seconds. This is 4 seconds. Let's reduce this, I don't know, to maybe 2 seconds. in 2 seconds. I'm going to mute it just for a moment. And so now let's see what this looks like when we press play. Alright, pause for a moment. I know where my attention should be. That looks great. Alright, so what we're going to do right now is I'm actually going to reduce this. It doesn't need to be that long. And I'm going to press actually Command plus to zoom in just a tad. Alright, that looks great. So now what can we do if we want to add some audio? Well, what we can do is we can capture audio a number of ways. If you go to the Basketball Life YouTube channel, you can find lots of great inspiration. We've got Mark Breen, we've got Jeff Van Gundy, we've got, of course, Mark Jackson. So you can capture some audio that we can superimpose onto the video itself. What I'm going to do is here is the audio that I had before, so I'm just simply going to click and drag, and it's done. Maybe I'll shift it over right here, and then if you want to slice and dice, I'm going to press shift the play edge right here, I'm going to press, you know, Command D, and I'm just going to delete this for right now. And so now when we press play,
down shots to take and make shots. It's easy offense, and the Warriors defense participated in their own demise. They've got to be better individual defense. They're so
great. That looks good. And so the one, let's do one last thing. We're gonna slow down that shot. So once it hits its arc, and you can't even see it because it's out of the camera. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna press Command B, and I'm gonna scrub ahead, and right here, I'm gonna press Command B again, and I'm gonna zoom in a tad. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this segment of the timeline, and I'm gonna click this icon that controls the speed of the clip itself. And we can do, you know, let's do slow and see what happens when we have it at 25%. Whoa. So let's see what this looks like.
defense. They're so
nice. I like that a lot. That looks pretty cool. Alright, I hope this is helpful for you, and when if you're creating your own sports athletic highlight reels. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.